गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। जय हिंद, प्रणाम एंड वणक्कम। टुडे we are going to talk of Pakistan beyond elections. And to talk about this subject and discuss about this, I have with me a power pack panel in front, and here we go. Uh, at the outset, on behalf of CASA Forum, I'd like to welcome General Gautam Moorthy, who's the founder of the forum, Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, Dr. Qamar Cheema, who's joining us from Islamabad, and of course, General Vinod Bhatia. And very good evening and welcome to all of you for this important web discussion. I'm very glad that all of you have been able to make it. And without wasting much time, since we have a lot of ground to cover, what I'll do is I'll go through a few issues which have been flagged by Pakistanis themselves in Dawn and other newspapers. And then I'll throw the house open to you. And here I go. Okay. The first thing, Quo Vadis, where do we go from here? Mahir Ali, he writes in Dawn, the question arises whether the powers that be are as incompetent in rigging elections as they are in ensuring security. The unexpected result has enthused many within and outside the country who really ought to know better. Any hope that a distinctly better future, desperately needed, lies ahead would be premature. Right? So he's thrown a question on the army and its competency. Arifa Noor, in her editorial of the People, she says, people came out not for the PTI as much as they came out to vote against those who created an environment of fear. More than the political parties, the establishment should be concerned. Ask whether it wants to continue on a path where it is losing support. Very strong statement. And to what extent it can afford this, especially as the state's policies have already lost Pakistan the hearts and minds of Balochistan. Instead of working on plans to reverse this, it seems as if the people of the other provinces are being pushed away too. So we are talking of hearts and minds, which is a very powerful emotion in such conditions. Right. Abbas Nazir, the erstwhile editor of Dawn, whom I've always considered a very great writer, and he's on the ball. He talks of controlled chaos and he says, think not. Hopes of clarity after the election have evaporated, and a country perennially in the midst of a crisis now appears gripped by chaos and in a tailspin, with the wildest of speculation suddenly acquiring an eminently plausible status. This is where we are. From the usually informed journalists and analysts to wildly swinging vloggers, everyone is clueless. Very telling. What he sees is there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's far away. And this is his view as of yesterday. And Zahid Hussain, again a very good political commentator, says, it was perhaps the most consequential election in Pakistan's recent history. Defying all odds, the voters turned out in record numbers. They have spoken out loud and clear and given their verdict. It was a vote for hope and democracy, but the people's mandate seems to have been stolen. Right? And the second part is very interesting. He says the army chief also urged Pakistan's political parties to form a unified government to help the country move from the politics of anarchy and polarization. It is rare for an army chief to issue such political statements. In fact, in India, it is almost unthinkable. It is not the mandate of the military leadership to tell the political leadership what kind of government they should be. It provides some insight into the emerging civil-military relationship or the existing one, as you may think so. And why we fail, Asam Sajjad Akhtar. He says the post-poll rigging and smoky backroom deals will carry on for some time. The frenzied wheelings and dealings will give way to the new, read old status quo, so nothing changes. Or maybe there will be even more chaos because a viable power sharing agreement cannot be fomented. And then someone in a uniform or a suitable proxy will save us in the name of national security. So this also has a pointer. So all the pointers which we're going to discuss are already there. And it is blackout to backlash, Muhammad Amir Rana, I think yesterday or today's dawn. Establishments often focus on imposing order, frequently at the expense of political and social order. They may believe that order brings discipline and stability to society and governance, but they always neglect to consider how their policies erode their legitimacy to impose order. This is the biggest crisis facing Pakistan. And if I may say, also the Pakistan army. And of course, there's this headlines in Dawn which says army has tested everyone and GDA foresees martial law. And the whole thing is little off grid. But he says the army has tried everyone and none is left to be tried. And we know the political legitimacy of Pakistan is by three players. Army. When I say CJP, it's the judiciary. And the political parties, the three main ones being PML, PTI, and PPP. Right? With this, I'll get back to the panel. The first question to all of you, with this brief background, and I've said it in as many words as they've said it, right? What is the future you see of Pakistan as, and where do you think Pakistan is going? To put it in Mahir Ali's words, what is? General Gautam Moorthy, sir, I request you to take it on first. And since you've been to Pakistan and you've interacted with the army hierarchy out there, tee off, please.
All right. Now, this is a very interesting question that he asks, for which most Pakistanis, let alone Indians, don't really find an answer to. Pakistan is facing, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, an existential crisis. Hark back to 1970 when the first free and fair elections were held in Pakistan. What happened as a result? The party that won a majority was not allowed to form the government. And the result after 1 year was there for everyone to see. Don't the Pakistani senior politicians realize this? Don't they realize that you cannot ignore the will of the people in a democracy? A democracy may be chaotic. As Mohammed Amir Rana says, the military wants order. Of course, all military wants order. You and I have been in the military. We like order. We do not like chaos. We do not like disorder. But our political process in our country, in every country in the world, not just in our country, there is disorder. There are conflicting opinions. People will fight with each other. Things will not be crystal clear because here you have authority vested upon you. There you have to earn the authority and you have to earn the votes. I don't mean by the monetarily to earn the votes, but you have to earn the respect of your people to get voted. And you have to fight battles, political battles, to get that legitimacy. Now, here was a government, for whatever reason, selected government, as Imran Khan's government was called. But he continued till he fell out of favor with the army. Over what? Over the posting of or shifting out of one DGIS. And there the problem actually began. What is the future of the army? The army has never been tested like this before, save for 1971. The army is being tested again. As one of the editors has said, Balochistan is informant. They've lost the hearts and mind of the people of Balochistan. They are on the verge of losing the hearts and mind of the people of Pakistan. I just hope it is not so, and for Pakistani's sake, for the average common citizen, let the will of the people prevail, however chaotic, however problematic, however horrible it is. If it doesn't function, vote out the person, get another person. There have been hung parliaments in the past in India too. We have gone through the era of hung parliaments with a lot of consensus, lot of discussion. But the military has never interfered. The military, there's no question of a military even talking about it. We never discuss politics in our messes. You know that very clearly. The subject was completely taboo. And not only in our messes, within our own interactions, none of us have discussed politics. We discuss everything under the sun except for politics in India. So, where Pakistan, where does it go from here? Very frankly, unless the military decides to step back, this mess will continue. This will happen, and the results will ultimately come out again. The streets will dictate the results. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks a lot, sir. I think you made some very interesting points. You spoke of Pakistan being in an existential crisis. You also spoke of the political legitimacy which is existing or not existing. And then you made a very, very, very important point that the army has not been tested in such a situation after 1970. And the military needs to step back. Right. I'll get back to some of these points later on when we go around in the second round. Now I'll invite Ambassador Trigunayat, sir, your views on where Pakistan is going or Kovadis.
Thank you, Sir General Shankar. I fully agree with what General Moorthy said. Unfortunately, the Pakistan has suffered this onset of this kleptocratic elite for a very long time now. And the army has been the puppeteer, to say the least. But this time, what we are witnessing is that, in my view, although we may term democracy in a very different way, perhaps the democracy has gone a full circle this time, as the people have spoken against the mightiest of the actors in the country. Whether they will come out of it completely, that's a different thing now, because very often any governance, the people are the ones who suffer. And today, unfortunately, Pakistan has been going through triple crisis at the same time. They have a simultaneous crisis. There is a very severe economic crisis in the country. There is a severe political crisis in the country, and as has been indicated, that there are ruptures across the fault lines also that are seen here. And then they're suffering from a very severe security crisis as well. And I believe that this is the worst since 1971. And so therefore, this elite, which has just filled their coffers, have weakened even the hold of the state. So today the institutions are questioned. We have seen the questions against the election commission by certain commissioners themselves. We have seen the role of judiciary that has also been questioned significantly, let alone the political parties. Now, this is something that is going to take a long time to heal this, in my view. So this militarization of the Pakistani politics has to find a way where people's will needs to be channeled. Now, rather than superimposing the same old actors over and over again. Of course, I mean, we can't be idealistic. If you go through the Max Weber's theory of elites, they are always in circulation. So that keeps coming back and forth. That is a different thing. But here, today, there is a true challenge for them. Now, of course, eventually they will try to stitch up this alliance. Of course, Supreme Court will see and to what extent are they going to nullify which elections and which seats. That remains to be seen. But as we know that there is always some kind of a modus vivendi that the PMLN and PPP will find out. And of course, the days for Imran Khan are still numbered as he continues to remain behind bars. And I doubt very much that he can play a very great role, given the kind of current dispensation and the rules and regulations that permeate in Pakistani politics and the constitutional framework.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think you also made certain very nice points. If I may highlight, you spoken of the kleptocratic elite, and what's more important, they're not going away. They're going to keep coming back, right? And this is one of the features of Pakistan, the elite capture. And this is not something which you and I have invented. This is what people in Pakistan talk of. And the next most important point, for the first time probably in a long time, the people of Pakistan have spoken, right? And they're asking questions to the army, and the army and the establishment, call it what you want, they have to answer it. And I don't know whether they have an answer. At least so far, it doesn't seem as if they've had an answer. Okay. And then you spoke of the polycrisis, the social, the economic, security, and political crisis, which has been gripping Pakistan for the past 2 to 3 years. And this crisis actually started well, even when Mr. Imran Khan was in chair. We all knew it. So, difficult questions, no answers. If I surmise everything, as MJ Akbar put it, we are looking at a state which I can best describe as a jelly state. So, we'll get back to that. So, with this as a background, uh, I now request Dr. Qamar Cheema to throw in his view as to where his country is headed. All yours, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Shankar, for inviting me, Lieutenant General Gautam, and it's great to be with the Ambassador Saab and with General Bhatia. It's always great to be with him as well. I think what you are talking and what you are reading from Pakistan, I will just quote the Economist Intelligence Unit, which has downgraded Pakistan from a hybrid regime to authoritarian regime just recently, a few days ago, which definitely tells that the situation is not good. The people in Pakistan are really very worried. It's the third day Twitter is down because there is so much toxic environment and toxic material which is coming, which is against the which is not good for this harmony of the state. Um in terms of election rigging, yes, everyone is talking about that. That nothing has happened that before, but I think everybody is reading too much what's going on in Pakistan. Uh, there is the state, the Pakistani military has always have a control over the situation. The things have never been that the things are out of their control. Since the media is working, electronic media is working, other social media platforms are working. It's not that the country is in chaos. The people are protesting in Balochistan. People are protesting in Sindh. Some of that in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they are allowed to protest because if they have some problem with the election, they need to go to the election commission. This is what the state has been telling. But in my understanding, our economy is not good, which is the biggest challenge. But since Pakistan's economy is mostly informal, which many people do not bring into the consideration, and that informal economy, to many estimates, is about $1 trillion economy. So if we have a $300 billion GDP in terms of documented economy, our undocumented economy is about $1 trillion. That's why even if the petrol prices increase from 150 rupees to 300 rupees, there is no protest. Now you will never see a protest in Pakistan because people are busy, people they want to work, they don't want to waste the time. And in terms of this political reawakening, we have seen in times of Imran Khan, no political party can bring people on road. That's a very important question. Why people do not come on road, even if they believe that the situation is not good? They will come for a day or two, and then it's not like Egypt, or it's not like an Arab Spring or something like that. People have freedom to talk. They talk on media. They talk against the military on the media, and they are allowed. Not, they can go for a propaganda, but yes, they can talk. Um, Moving on, I personally believe, as a student of politics, I understand that the military's role in politics is too much. But at the same time, I think Pakistan's political class has failed to work with the military. That's a very important question in my understanding as student of politics. For instance, if you have seen the two political parties, PMLN and People's Party, uh, they learned over the period of time because of their mistakes, because how they had to deliver, but they were not allowed to complete the terms back in 80s and 90s and 2000s. And then come a good time. Now, Pakistan's democracy is on path, and that path is that from 2008, or you may go back to 2002, every 5 year the parliament is completing its term every 5 years. So that is a one point. The second point is, yes, the prime minister is not completing the tenure. So many people are calling that there is an interference in this, that the military or the judiciary intervenes. We have seen judicial populism. We have seen other kind of populism in the country. So I think Imran Khan as a third player, who came and he disturbed the entire environment in a way that first he has been working with the military, but one, there was a vote of no confidence. He linked it with the foreign conspiracy, that the Americans and the military threw him out because of so many reasons what he believed. But in my understanding, what I believe is that if the political class can better work with the military, and that is that you are allowed to work in the parliament, all the provincial assemblies, you are all there, you can work. But what happens is, they want for example, Imran Khan is not saying that I don't want to work with the military, should be out of politics. Imran Khan is saying that the military shall help me bring in power. That is the problem. The problem is that every politician in the country wants the military to bring him in power. Nobody is saying that we want the military's road should be eliminated. That's not a question. The question should have been that there should not be role of the military. So I think if the political parties in Pakistan, they go into the parliament doing their whatever work there is in the parliament at one point. Secondly, they keep engaging with the military. They keep sharing power with the other institutions. But if I believe that if they will ask that all other if the military will be sort of like work like Punjab police, that will not happen. I think for the sake of democracy, protecting democracy, serving democracy, and helping people of Pakistan, the political class need to work with the military, and that's the only way, step by step, they can regain all that democratic space which they have given to the military. I think that's what I believe. If there
Yeah.
are questions, I can speak.
No, we'll take on. Don't worry. We'll have questions. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your interjection. Some important points I might like to underline which you have made. The first thing is Twitter is down. It's very rare that a country shuts down its Twitter, right? It has its own implications. Why is Twitter down is a question which we have to ask for ourselves. Then you made a point that we are reading too much into the chaos, and that Pakistan, has a $1 trillion economy. If you take the unorganized sector also into consideration, but I'd like to point it out. I mean, I can understand that you're trying to defend a bad case. Every country has a unorganized sector and a economy, which will be 3 times the normal economy, organized sector. It's not peculiar to Pakistan. So I don't think we can underplay the problems which are there in Pakistan. And then you said people have not come out on the road so far, and you are very definitive in saying people will not come out on the road. So that is another point which we will talk of going down the line. And then the last and most important point which you made is that the political parties have to share power with Pakistan. They have to come to some accommodation and form, and take the whole process forward. So these are the issues which you made. Interesting points, which is much against what some people in Pakistan think, which I showed earlier. But we'll get back to that. With this, sir, I request General Vinod Bhatia, sir, your views on where Pakistan is heading and whatever.
Thank you, Jen Shankar. I hope my audio is okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you're first class, sir.
Thank you. And great to be on the panel with such luminaries and Dr. Chima. Jen Shankar, first I would like to agree with most of the points given by the panelists. And when you speak last, most of the things you want to speak have been spoken to. But let me reiterate by saying that this election is not the 1970 moment of Pakistan. That's how I see it. Most of the people are saying the 1970 moment of Pakistan. It is not so. However, having said that, it's a vote against the Pakistani army. It's a vote for democracy. It's a vote for future. It's a vote for hope. The radical parties have generally been wiped out. Independents owing their allegiance to Mr. Imran Khan have been elected in mass. It's a rigged election. To that, I don't have to say that. That's coming out of Pakistan. And it's a polarized vote in any case. So the future seems very distinct. But I'd like to go on from here. And an excellent point brought out by Dr. Chima, if I may, that you repeatedly said that Pakistan military, Pakistan political classes failed to deal with the military. They are not. So I would like to say, who is supreme, the will of the people or the military? That is the question which I would like to ask. And having said that, let me also say that what is happening in Pakistan does not really seem good for the people of Pakistan, for the region, and for India also, for that matter. Because the GDA is protesting, the protests are there. We can't deny that. There's a mass-scale rigging which has taken place, and like you rightly said, Pakistan downgraded from a hybrid democracy to an autocracy. Well, whatever it is, what we do wish the people of Pakistan the very best, and hope I'm sure the Pakistan come out of this crisis. This does happen, and they'll come out of the crisis, and we'll have some sort of a stability in Pakistan for the people of Pakistan. The way forward, as I see it, is for the army who control. Let's face facts, who control, to step a little back. Look at the people's aspirations, because the people's aspirations are very important. If the people's aspirations are not met, you will find more and more protests. It's happened in Pakistan earlier. Yes, they can't sustain it because of the economic condition. It's an economic condition, it's a security for Pakistan. And where security is concerned, yes, Pakistan army has to be at the forefront. But where the Pakistan politics is concerned, the Pakistan diplomacy is concerned, I think the elected, the political class has to take over that. Pakistan army cannot dictate the economic policies, the diplomatic policies, and the security policies altogether. I don't think the people are going to any more be agreeable to that. And the protests which we have seen, as reported in the media, of course, Dr. Chima is more aware of this, do not go well for the future of Pakistan. Pakistan, I'm sure, will come out of this crisis. There's a crisis which is there. Pakistan has always been strategically smart, and the military has a control over it, and they will control the politicians, and they'll come out of it. I think the government has to be formed on the 29th of November. Correct me if I'm wrong. 29th of February. So I feel that there will be a government in place. It will be back to a hybrid government, hybrid power, and I hope, for the sake of the region, that it is. I'll finish up there.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think you also made some interesting points. You feel that it is not a 1970 moment, but many in Pakistan, I'd like to counter it and say, do feel it could be somewhere there, but then we'll see how it goes. And a major point which you made is, who is supreme in a country, the will of the people or the will of the Pakistan army, or the will of the army, for that matter, in any nation. So it's a clash of wills, or the clash of aspirations, and where it will lead us, we don't know. Overall, we also see instability likely to endure, and you see that the only way out is the army to step back. Whether it will or not is again a question mark. And you, like you rightly said, a hybrid government is once again back in the offing, which means it leaves a hybrid environment permeating from there to everyone else. Thanks a lot. I think we've had some interesting points which you've made and to each other. I have a few fundamental questions which I would like to throw at each of you. The first, I'll get back to General Moorthy. Sir, the state in which Pakistan is, you know, is quite uh, confused because there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't know whether by 29 they'll cobble up some kind of a coalition or a ministry or a government or whatever to take it forward. Even if that happens, beyond that there's a lot of question marks because what's happening today, in my opinion, is a bit unprecedented in terms of protests. Probably the last time such protests were held, you'll have to go back to the lawyers' protest when Pervez Musharraf was thrown out. And before that was the 1970 movement. If it is not this 1970 movement, is it that moment in which the lawyers' protest took place? And you also had the the protest and the arson which took place in May last year. And now where we are. In this kind of a condition, do you visualize Pakistan going under the martial law? Because that also has been spoken about. In fact, the two extremities of thought which I have read in the past 1 week, besides everything else, is people are also talking of a repoll and people are talking of a martial law, and which has come out openly in the headlines. All yours, sir, General Gautam Moorthy, sir.
Again, a very difficult question to answer, but I will try my best. You see, the Pakistan Army, as Dr. Qamar Cheema has pointed out, is very much in control. And I'm sure he, being in Islamabad itself, has got his finger on the pulse and is very clear that whichever party comes to power, a coalition of parties comes to power, and what he didn't mention was also what the army wanted, a unity government that comes to power, has to listen to the army and ensure that they continue to stay in power. All of them are looking to the army. Now, even if the army, from what I gather from what Dr. Chima says, even if the army, say, just theoretically speaking, wants to step back and say, look, it's not none of our business. Okay, let's for a moment keep the rigging and everything aside. According to Dr. Chima, he says that the political parties themselves are not going to let the army step aside and tell them, no, you very much be with us in running this country. If that be so, you already have the army very much in charge. Why would they want to impose martial law when the laws within the country right now can keep protests in check? Why would they want to impose martial law? They may want to impose some kind of an emergency with which to say that, look, things are not what they ought to be. In fact, as one of the editors remarked, Pakistan is in a tailspin from what we can see, and one has been observing this. So the other thing is economy, and everything is economy. I just have some figures which I would like to tell you today. What is happening is that Pakistan is adding 48 billion US dollars in debt every day, and their earnings are 33 billion dollars. That means they are in a deficit of 15 billion dollars per day. The GDP is 341 billion dollars. And I just read that the Tata Group market valuation in this country is $365 billion. I'm not even talking about India's GDP, I'm talking about just one group of companies under the Tatas. And we have so many of our companies. So if martial law is imposed, your IMF loans will not come through. Your people, including the Gulf countries and Saudi Arabia, which were supporters of Pakistan, which have been well-wishers of Pakistan, they will also hold back. The only friend Pakistan will have if they impose martial law will be China. And nobody else. And China itself is going broke. There's no way they can support Pakistan. So economically, imposing martial law does not make sense at all. The army of Pakistan is very much invested in Pakistan. They're obviously, like any nationalist army anywhere in the world, wants their country to do well, does not want the country to plunge into chaos. But chaos it is plunging into, and ultimately, if one has read the tea leaves right, even when on 9th of May last year, the rank and file and ex-servicemen were against the military leadership. We saw it play out in the streets. We have watched Twitter. You and I follow it very carefully. We are seeing everything that's going on. Today also, the rank and file in front of the DHA, there have been protests the day after the elections, that is on 9th of February. There were strong protests against what was seen as what was rigging, obviously, because for 8 hours you shut down the internet, you take away the Form 45. So today people are saying that ultimately that this is going to be a fight to the finish. And if General Munir continues to take a stand, I am not sure how many corps commanders will be with him right through. There are a disciplined army at the higher ranks, there is no doubt about it. But it may make sense, and I am sticking my neck out saying this, for General Munir to step aside, let somebody else take charge and, let things flow, even though that flow may be very, very messy. Let the politicians handle it. Let it be handled correctly as per any due political process. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think you made a very interesting point towards the end. While you have been very definitive in feeling that the Pakistan army will not go under martial law because it's in control of the situation. And I would argue that if the situation was under its control, it wouldn't have needed to shut down Twitter. At some point of time, even the internet was shut down yesterday.
Yes.
And I don't think the Pakistan army is in a position to cobble up a government. And in the absence of a government, well, the question poses back to itself. And the last point which you made, which is very valid, why Pakistan might not go under the martial law, is there might not be internal unity in the army. If the internal unity in the army is not there, it will be very difficult for the present chief to even take over. It might be even difficult for the present chief to run a government the way it is. So I think you made some interesting points, and these are there in the net and in the environment. So we're going to see a very diffuse situation where we really can't predict what's going to happen. Okay. My next question is to Ambassador Trigunayat. So, like Mr. MJ Akbar said, what we can foresee is a state of Pakistan which is like jelly. It might swing one way or the other, never stable, never unstable completely, never falling off the table. That's the general consensus which is coming out. Where do you see this going? And what do you think are the major implications for India? Because ultimately everything comes down. I mean, to be very honest, it doesn't matter me much what happens in Pakistan as far as it doesn't concern me. But in this case, we can't ignore it, whatever is happening. So your take on it.
Well, sir, I think that anything that happens in our neighborhood, especially when there is continued instability, it does have a direct or sometimes indirect repercussions. And that's the reason that India has always believed in a strong, stable economic neighborhood, including in Pakistan, and has worked for it most of the times. But the problem in Pakistan today, apart from the military, and there is definitely logic that it does not serve military well to take over at this stage in any way, neither domestically nor internationally. So I doubt very much that they will do so. It's quite likely that soon we might see these two parties stitching alliance, howsoever temporary it may be. Nawaz Sharif was brought in basically with the blessings of the army, and then Supreme Court also waived that requirement that criminal charges person cannot contest or whatever it is. But they have realized the limitations of these leaders. So it very much looks like that the current crop of leaders have also lost their credibility with the people. So there is a vacuum in that sense, I think, today, which needs to be worked out. I was reading somewhere, and there is a very interesting, apart from the fact that they have $125 billion of external debt, and in 2024, they are going to come about $50 billion repayments is coming up. Then there is every Pakistani child who's born today, according to a Pakistani study, is born with 3,20,000 rupees of debt. So that is the kind of situation, irrespective of whatever statistics we might spin around. The fact remains that these are questions, these are facts that are staring in the face. And as you talked about MJ Akbar, and he said that IMF may be the next finance minister of Pakistan for some time to come. So I think the most important thing we need to wish for is that there should be stability. Political stability is very important in whichever form is there. And there's no denying the fact that the army has always been behind it, has been ruled it most of the time. And when it is not ruled, it has ruled from behind. And I agree with Dr. Chima that many of the politicians want army to support them, without which they know they cannot survive. So, like we know that Imran Khan was brought in by army on their support. When he fell out of favor, he was removed. So it is an actor, but it is also a bigger actor in the economy of the country. So therefore, whatever is the plight of the economy today is also directly impacting on the efficacy and capabilities of the army itself. So I think that is all very important. Now, security issue is because when you have instability and ruptures, then the security dimension, Pakistan is also having a problem with Afghans and TTPs and all those kind of organizations. Now, they might go out of control and might like to encash for their own benefit. So this is not a very good sign, neither for India nor for Pakistan.
Oh, thanks a lot, sir. I think you made some very valid points. And the most valid point is that Pakistan is in no. Actually, the larger message which you put across is that Pakistan will have a tough time reviving back. And the politicians want the army want the politicians, but they're not able to see eye to eye. Everyone wants the army on its side, but no one wants the army, bossing them. The army doesn't want to give away. And this situation won't change. And now with the added dimension of the people not being with the army is to be seen as to where this goes. And that leads me to a question to Dr. Chima. Look, we've said that 1970 kind of a time is not there. That's what General Bhatia did mention. But then there are people within Pakistan who said this. And I've also quoted the issue of the lawyers' problem, which threw out Musharraf. At that time, Pakistan was really in a tailspin. And then you've spoken about the polycrisis, a point which we have not touched today. If you look at the external issue of Pakistan, Pakistan has problems with Afghanistan and India, and some fledgling problem with Iran, though it's been papered over at this point of time. None of its borders are secure, which the ambassador also had pointed out. In such a situation, and with KPK and Balochistan going haywire, do you think with this crisis could snowball into a situation where Pakistan will have difficulty in surviving as a nation?
Thank you very much, General Shankar.
Yeah, I'm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. So what you quoted, I was, initially before we had a conversation, you quoted only Dawn. all of the people you quoted, they are our friends, so we know. And Dawn
Yeah,
is a very liberal newspaper in the country. You know this. They have always come up with the criticism for all these state institutions, the military, and everyone else. I think that the other factor which we are ignoring is that Imran Khan, his party, which comprises of independents, they got much votes. But remember, the other political parties which got the votes in Sindh and Punjab. The PMLN remains the single most biggest party in Punjab in terms of making a government in Punjab alone. This in Sindh, People's Party made their own government. They don't need even any other political party. In Punjab, PMLN doesn't need any other political party in forming the government, which is a country of 110 million people. So the question is that yes, they have been we have been talking. So I will go back to what General Vinod Bhatia said, that the will of the people, and he's absolutely right that the will of the people must prevail. But remember, it is Imran Khan, the former prime minister, who wanted that the General Bajwa shall go to Saudi Arabia, to UAE, and every other country to get the money for running his government. So it is the politicians, and I remember Imran Khan used to say that I will use the military as a state institution and an organ wherever I have to use them because I am running this country. So I think the political parties like Imran Khan, they have allowed the military to penetrate into the system. The other political parties, the PMLN and the People's Party, they somehow blocked the way. But the PTI, Imran Khan, they gave them every access to the system. So that's first I want to make. Coming to some of the point, for example, borders are not secure. I think I can talk to every country where border is not secure. Even we have been talking in India. For example, just recently I was listening to the Indian Army chief, and he was talking what's going on in Myanmar and what's happening there. Even Donald Lu was talking yesterday about that. Even the NSA Doval was in Bangladesh for the talks on that. So every country has a border issue. So do we have. But at the same time, this question that Pakistan will survive, I think that's a very big question. We have been surviving. Remember, we have been facing, for example, when the Americans came in Afghanistan, which other country is more stable other than Pakistan? For example, what happened in Iraq and what happened in Syria, what happened in all these Arab countries? You know that. We are the ones who have been fighting, and we are the ones who have been giving lives, facing economic crisis, political crisis, fighting with the terrorist organizations, collaborating with the international community, and then still we have not gone bankrupt. Although technically we are bankrupt, but physically, practically we are not. So the question is, yes, there are challenges, but remember, I will reiterate again this point, and I believe the solution is there. All the political parties, they need to sit together and they need to reclaim all the lost space. The question is not with the military. Whenever there is a space, the military will fill the space. Every other institution will fill the space. Even the bureaucracy will fill the space, even if it is very weak. The question is, the politicians, they do invite the military, and Imran Khan did a huge disservice to the country by letting the military to penetrate, to asking the military to punish this person, punish that person, requesting the judiciary to punish every opponent of mine. I think he has done a huge disservice to the nation. And now, for example, he is not getting the vote because he has served too much to the country, or there is so many mega projects on the name of Imran. He is being voted because only one point: anti-America, anti-West, anti-military, pro-religion, and then he has a good image that he's not corrupt. On these 4 5 points, he's running. He's not. He's not into that. Look, I am the person who has done so much for the country. And then I don't believe there is. I don't find that there will be a crisis and there is an existential crisis. Remember, Pakistan is a security state, and remember, it will remain a security state unless our Democrats they don't get us into they don't empower the parliament. So when we come to the parliament, there is no local body system. They don't want that the new generation of the leaders too much. So there's so many challenges we are facing. But if there is a question that you will call that we will survive, we will definitely survive. We are surviving with the political crisis, with the military crisis, with the terrorists on our borders, internal situation, economy, And then we have some friends, they're helping us and they will continue to help us. And I believe we will have more solutions in coming days. But yes, and we will come out of this crisis which we are facing these days. We are very hopeful. The people of Pakistan believe in the system. The people of Pakistan, as I mentioned, that they don't come, they are not the spoilers. They don't come on roads all the time. Yes, they do protest, but it's not like that there is a complete chaos. And I think that's what, whatever the little democracy we have, that they have right to, criticize, they have right to do whatever they do. I think Pakistan will survive, things will be good. But yes, we are really facing very challenging times. And this is because
Yeah.
of not a consensus among the political quarters. That's my supporting argument.
Yeah,
Central.
thanks a lot. You're very confident that Pakistan will survive. Um, and you wish that all political parties come together and sit together and talk together and hammer out a political solution. And, then talk to the army and sideline it and all that. Uh, all the best, because it's not happened for the past 5, 6 years. So I don't know whether it will happen further, that the political parties will get together. Uh, you also spoken of Pakistan being a security state, and there's no getting away from that, right? And you also made a statement that every country has its problem with its borders. I agree with you. Every country has problems with its borders. It's not so easy, especially in the subcontinent where these borders have been forced upon us. But I think at this point of time, Pakistan has special problems on its borders, right? All round. There's only one little Kunjra pass which is left, where it has an easy entry and exit, and it's most of its trade has to go only through Karachi. I'm not talking about the illegal and the unorganized trade. So that's a special case. So that is why I said, and the poly crisis which is existing, whether will it survive as a nation? It might, but will it survive as in the form it is, or go even worse, or the thing is to be seen, right? So the next question for General Bhatia. So do you see, given that we've spoken now quite a bit on various combinations which could happen and all that, everyone can work out the combinations. Do you see that in any combinations, these political parties coming together and forming a government and then reviving Pakistan? And if they don't revive Pakistan, what are the implications for us? All yours, sir.
Thank you. You're asking a military man of politics.
Let me put it this way: so I'm talking. I'm not talking of it from a political point of view,
Okay.
as much of
See,
Pakistan
see,
having
I,
getting stability.
I agree with the panelists, and I agree with Best and Dr. Chima. I hope for the people of Pakistan, I said so earlier, hope for the people of India and for India, that there is reasonable stability in Pakistan. We hope and pray for it. But there is a crisis which we cannot deny, and the crisis is there. Dr. Chima talked about Punjab. Let me also give the figures of Punjab then. Out of the 290 seats which went to the polls, 137 were won by the PMLN, and in Punjab, which controls Pakistan, and the Punjab Army, which is Pakistan Army, which is from Punjab mainly, 112 seats were won by independent candidates owing allegiance to Imran Khan. So that is something which the figures say something, and this is despite allegations of a rigged election. And I'm not saying so. People of Pakistan saying that rigged election. Right? So I think we are into challenging times, and I'm very sure, and I hope and pray that Pakistan survives and sustains for a long period. We would like a stable Pakistan, and I'm 100% in agreement with the ambassador. Because a lot of people troll me when I say that we need a stable Pakistan, we need a stable neighborhood. Basically, I'm looking at India. However, the challenge for India is how to change the behavior of Pakistan towards India in the mid to long term, and that is, I think, a key issue which we should be addressing. How to change the behavior of Pakistan towards India in the mid to long term. And that I think the present policy of diplomacy, which is a Putti diplomacy, is paying dividends. Let me say that. It's paying dividends. Because Pakistan seeks parity with India, and it is Pakistan best ignored for the present. However, we've got to keep a watch on Pakistan. Right? Shankar, I hope I'm making some sense on this, because
Yes.
I need
No,
more
you're
time
okay,
to
sir.
elaborate on
No,
this.
please go ahead.
So,
Please go ahead.
so what you said, Pakistan is a security state. I agree, Pakistan is a security state, problems with the borders. Every nation has, but Pakistan got more problems than other nations. Iran, Afghanistan, India, and Chinese money comes at a great cost, actually. Chinese money is not cheap. It's the cost of Chinese money is very, very high. And if Pakistan banking on China, I think in the mid to long term, we are looking at instability for the Chinese money. So I will finish out here and take another question if there's a time left.
Right, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. We have been nearly 1 hour into this program. What comes out, at the end of the whole story is political instability will endure till some such time. The political parties, which Dr. Chima had said, sit together and hammer out a solution. Prima facie, if you look at it, you don't have a federal government, and the hope of a stable federal government is a question mark. The provincial governments are of 4 different parties, the way it is emerging, right? There's no, and even all of those, except especially in Punjab, it's not very clear who will form the party and how far it will last. There is a problem, right? Notwithstanding what Dr. Chima says, that PMLN is strongest in its form, there's a problem there. Everyone knows it. And then the army, the strongest institution of Pakistan, is on the back foot. And it's on the back foot. The first time, like I said, I keep repeating, after when Musharraf was eased out by the lawyers' agitation, the first time the army is on the back foot in a big way. And the people of the Pakistan, if we remember, have always supported the Pakistan army. For the first time since then, that is at a premium. So we are into interesting times. And General Bhatia spoke of how to change the behavior of Pakistan. The way I look at it, sir, if you have to change the behavior of Pakistan, Pakistan has to be prepared to change its behavior. It has to be something internal. And I've always believed, through chaos comes order, right? And chaos is the best form of when things break down to a level when everyone sits together and says, okay, let's have order hereafter. And it might just happen, right? That's the chaos theory. There must be something happening which will push everyone into a state where Pakistan starts reviving itself. Okay. I'll take on a few questions and then I'll get back to all of you to have your final comment. Okay. Maximilian says, what is the reason, this to Dr. Chima, why Pakistan could not produce a single civilian visionary leader after Jinnah? Right? Compared to Pakistan, most of the time, India had a strong civilian leadership. I'll leave the India comparison out because I don't want to compare whatever has happened in India with what's happening in Pakistan. We'll deal Pakistan. Today, we'll talk more of Pakistan. So I would request you to, tackle the first question. Over to you, Dr. Chima.
Well, obviously, there are multiple reasons for that. Many of us recall that, after independence, the Muslim League was not a strong party. Then we didn't have a constitution. We didn't have the elections earlier. And then the bureaucracy and the military jumped into the power corridors. And that's how things got disturbed. So, and then at the end of the day, I believe that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was a very strong civilian politician who basically thought that Pakistan should go nuclear. And that was the right decision at that time. And then we have seen Imran Khan as a popular leader. But I think the balance of how to maintain a balance of power in the country that is most important thing. And among the stakeholders. And for this, the political class, I would again urge, they need to understand that the power has slipped from from them. They need to regain that power, and they can only gain that if they go into the parliament, they have elections every 5 years, talk more with each other, engage more with each other, and that's how we will have strong leaders. That's how we will have strong parliament. That's how we will have strong leadership. Otherwise, if, for example, Imran Khan has a one politician who is aligning with every Islamic party in the country right now. At the moment, he has allied with the three Islamic parties in the country, not any mainstream party, because he calls them as the thieves. So that's what so he's creating more polarization. So I believe if the political class, they talk with each other, and we get back all the democratic space which we have lost, I think that will again, we will have the strong leadership. But the absence of strong democracy, absence of elections, absence of constitution, I think these things definitely led us to the chaos.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that answer. The next question is what is the way forward? Will elections be nullified? What's the combination to make the government? Will martial law be the final solution? General Moorthy, sir, you actually attempted, spoke of this a little earlier. Could you dilate on this?
You see, as you're aware, a number of people have gone to the Election Commission Tribunal. They're hearing the petitions. There is a huge movement saying that we want the Form 45. For those viewers who are not very clear, Form 45 is the actual result of the ballot box, as opposed to Form 47, the results that got declared by the Election Commission. So there was a gap between the counting that took place at the ballot box and the results that got declared. And it is this gap during which the internet went off or was put off, citing terrorism, could be security issues vaguely, that this rigging is taken place. Now, you all have seen what the DC of Rawalpindi himself has come up, addressed a press conference, and what he has said. And obviously, he has now blamed the judiciary, the Chief Justice of Pakistan, and the Chief Election Commissioner of Pakistan, and said that he had to pass this order and it didn't suit his conscience. And of course, he went a little dramatic by saying, "You hang me and hang them also along with me." Now whether there are cynics who say this was a stage managed conference, but the fact is that this has been a very flawed election. Not the election act per se, the election results. The election per se was okay. There were problems like Dr. Aisha Siddiqa brought out in our last webinar as to how within one family somebody was given a different polling booth to go to, and somebody was given another polling booth to go to. So despite all these difficulties, the election was held, and by Pakistani standards, 47% came out to vote, which was good. But with the results being flawed, unless this Form 45s are collected, are again recounted, and unless some results get overturned where rigging has actually taken place, I'm afraid this election will not be seen as a legitimate election at all. Now, what is a combination to make the government? Dr. Chima very appropriately said it's between these parties, they're trying to get together. The army is approaching the PTI through back channels to tell them also to join and form a unity government. It is best for Pakistan. In my opinion, if personal rank, personal egos are put aside and they sit together and decide what they should do best for Pakistan, but it is not happening in a hurry. Will martial law be the final solution? I doubt it, but an emergency-like situation can come up. There are some political commentators who are talking about it, but martial law, the situation still doesn't merit martial law. And I've just spoken about the drawbacks of martial law. What will happen, whatever little credibility that exists will also go. So, in brief, this is what I would like to say, and this is what I believe.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Parvinder, he's got a straight and direct question. Can relations of two countries be just normal if Imran comes? Ambassador, sir, your views.
Imran was there in power, and everybody expected that it could have been done, but it did not happen. I mean, uh, this is my belief. I may be wrong totally, but you see, the thing is that it has been mentioned earlier by others that relations can be normal if, in my view, the army wants it, because they are the ones who are in the real driver's seat. So your discussions with the political leadership only has a limited dividend. That's how I look at it.
Right, sir. There's a question further down, and this is to Dr. Chima. He says, how will Pakistan pay the impending 25 billion starting July? Certainly, Mr. Dar won't have a better solution this time. Your views?
Well, I don't look much of the economy, but obviously this is a very challenging thing. But I think Pakistan will get the IMF program, hopefully. And the difference between 2018 and 2024 government is that Imran Khan was not clear we shall go to IMF or not, because as a populist, he went public and said we will not go to IMF. I will die and I will not go to IMF. And then we delayed for another 8 months, and then there was a chaos. This government is very clear. The former Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is very clear that we will go to the IMF as we come in power. So I think that will create a stability, and I think then this process will start of paying the loans.
Okay. Then the next question, again, a direct question. Bhatia, sir, if you could take it on. Isn't the problem that nobody wants to be Pak PM? It's a political question again, but I'm throwing it at you.
No, it's a political question. I think presently no one wants to be the front man for the Pakistani army. That's the problem with Pakistani army. Relevance is the domestic, economic, political relevance is the problem. And Pakistan army won't let go of the power. And Pakistan army strategy is smart, as I'm saying. So I think the Pakistani Prime Minister today, whoever becomes the Prime Minister, will have a problem of being credible to the people. Because they will know that he's a stooge of the Pakistani army. Pakistan army will continue to control. And as for Imran Khan is concerned, I think because of the ego problem which General Moorthy spoke about, in our language you say, "Inka 36 ka ankada hai," but General Moorthy said, whatever we know with Pakistani army chief, General Moorthy, and Mr. Imran Khan. So there is a problem out there. So whoever becomes the Prime Minister will be directly controlled. But I hope the hybrid solution continues.
Right. So with this, we've come to the end of our discussions, and we've gone through one round of questions also. I'll not take any more. Finally, your thoughts on the way forward and what do you see coming ahead? A minute each. And we'll start with General Gautam Moorthy. Sir, 1 minute. Just keep it short. I wouldn't really say 1 minute, 1-2 minutes. I'm okay. We'll go ahead with it. And then we'll close the session.
Let me start with how this entire program started. You spoke of the jelly state. And this is where I'd like to quote Mr. M.J. Akbar, who in his wonderful book on Pakistan, which he wrote in 2011, Tinderbox, The Past and Future of Pakistan. And he writes, driven by the compulsions of an ideological strand in its DNA, damaged by the inadequacies of those who could have kept the nation loyal to Jinnah's dream of a secular Muslim majority nation, Pakistan is in danger of turning into a toxic jelly state, a quivering country that will neither collapse nor stabilize. This is written 12 years ago, no, 13 years ago. And you see this toxic jelly state is getting from bad to worse. Mainly because the ideological foundations that underpin Pakistan got pushed away despite Mr. Jinnah having said that this is a Muslim majority nation, but it will be a secular nation. And the obsession with Kashmir. Unless Pakistan sheds their hatred of India, gives up their dream of somehow getting Kashmir, I'm afraid this toxic jelly state will continue. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Your views, Ambassador, sir, all yours.
Well, let me also quote MJ Akbar this week only, a very interesting article he's written. And he has described these three leaders, Khan, Sharif, and Zardari, as the high stakes gamblers in the no limits political casino. So let's see how they play out eventually. But I would like to wish all the very best to Pakistani people.
Thanks a lot, sir. Yeah, Dr. Chima, your last words.
So I just believe that as Pakistan's political class starts talking with each other, I think we will find a way forward, and that's what Pakistan needs at the moment. Pakistan's defense is in the safe hands. There is nothing going to happen as if the country is going to wither. But yes, the political class needs to talk with each other. They have to resolve this crisis. If they don't talk, then there is a crisis, and then the military is not coming to rule this country directly. They can assist the civilians, but if the civilians want the military to come and jump and help them in everything, that's something we don't need. They need to do the homework, and they need to do the business on their own, and they need to talk. Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot. General Bhatia, sir, your last few ideas on for today.
Yeah, I hope the will of the Pakistan people prevails. We have a reasonable democracy in Pakistan. That's what the will of the people is. And Pakistan comes through the crisis well, and it survives. There's a crisis on the hands. We should not deny that. And that's why we're discussing this, the crisis not being there. We have a government in place which is reasonably stable. The Pakistan army may control, and let it control. We have no issues on that. But stability in Pakistan is a must.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. I would like to thank all of you for giving your balanced views and thoughtful views. I thought we had some interesting ideas coming up and some interesting discussions and pretty open discussions. I do hope, Dr. Qamar Cheema, your fans all over do see what you've spoken, because you've spoken a lot of sense for Pakistan. I only hope someone in Pakistan takes it up. And Ambassador, sir, I'd like to twist MJ Akbar's views a little bit, and I'll put it. I think there's a political gamble taking place in a casino which is bankrupt. Right? That's the way I'll put it. So who comes out with what is to be seen. But let me finish this with a thought which I leave with all of you, and that is this. We all know absence of war is not peace, is something which all of us talk about. Okay. Similarly, absence of protests on the street does not mean everything is right. We have to be clear that there are ripples underground, and those ripples rarely come out in a hurry. And that, I think, has not played out the way I look at it. All you have to do is go back into the history. The 1970 crisis actually finished in 1971. It took them 1 year for that crisis to, play itself out. The lawyers' protests, the way Pervez Musharraf was, thrown out, also took time. He had to first sack the CGI, and the CGI at that time, Chief Justice, I keep saying CGI, it's Chief Justice of Pakistan, took to the streets, the lawyers took to the streets, and eventually he was eased out. It took a long time. So I think we are seeing only the beginning of that trajectory. Even if, to a certain extent, I think the Pakistan army has let the genie out of the bottle. How strong this genie is to be seen. And of course, last but not the least, the Pakistani army is known to be doing backseat driving. It's always been doing backseat driving for the past 15, 20 years, right? But till now, they were looking at the windscreen and driving ahead. But I think I get a feeling off late that they started looking at the rear view mirror doing backseat driving. That's a deadly combination where it's going to go, but that time will only tell us. And at the end, I'd like General Gautam Moorthy, who actually organized this wonderful webinar or web discussion for the CASA forum, to wrap it up. All yours, General Moorthy, sir.
Thank you very much, General Shankar, General Bhatia, and Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, and Dr. Qamar Cheema. I don't know where he's gone, but while you were making your concluding remarks, he left. I think we've had a very healthy and a very good discussion on Pakistan, despite a number of comments coming in, which I read about, why do you have Dr. Qamar Cheema on the show? The point is that we need somebody from there on the show, somebody who's got an inside view and who can also tell us what the establishment is thinking. He may be pro-establishment, but that's all right. We want to hear both kinds of views so that we are able to come up with an informed opinion on what is going on there. And ultimately, we look at India and how best should we safeguard against any of this that can spill over. What lessons do we learn from what is happening in Pakistan? After all, Pakistan may not be a friend today, but they are a neighbor, and a neighbor cannot be ignored. So that is what I would like to say. Thank you very much, General Shankar, for this wonderful webinar, and thank you to the audience for your patience and for sitting through it. Thank you all. God bless. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Yeah. Thank you.
We can just be here for a